Hey, welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to say a happy Father's Day, by the way, to all you fathers out there. Hope you all doing what you're supposed to be doing. I know that everybody watching this channel is, but I want to say a few words about that. But first, I have to say something that about a horrible situation, horrible thing that happened to me yesterday. I went up, we had my daughter's birthday party. All right, guys. Birthday party last night, and then we're getting ready for Father's Day, of course, today. We just got back from a family gathering of all the fathers and their kids. So I ran up to the local Mega liquor store to get my favorite beer, and they were out of it. Schlitz. I drink Schlitz because it's an American beer. It's an old-time beer, and I don't drink that stuff that's made overseas or owned by people in Belgium. So, and I like Schlitz. And they were out of Schlitz. Can you imagine that they were out of Schlitz? So I had to replace that. That's the horrible thing. But the good thing that kind of, solved that. And I won't say that these are second to Schlitz. They're just not my number one team. So I settled for Pabst PBR, and a special shout out to you, Rob Painless, down there. Lone Star. Lone Star was originally, it was started back in the 18-something or others. Rob, you can probably tell everybody when it was started. And it was first called Alamo Beer down in San Antonio. And interestingly enough, sometime around the 1940s, I think, I'm not sure, sometime around the Second World War, for a while it was owned by a brewery here in Kansas City. So anyway, I'm sitting out here watching a bonfire build on which we may roast some marshmallows. Hey, buddy. Later, the boys are out there doing things, and Kelly is sitting next to me here eating cheesecake. And I'm drinking beer, and I don't know how much better you can get than that, right? We're each doing what we do best. Anyway.
I eat cheesecake best.
Fathers. I was and I am going to make a video on men. And it's going to be called something like, what in the heck is wrong with men? Because I had a friend of mine come to me, a young woman, come to me a few weeks ago and just say, what in the world is wrong with guys? Well, my answer started with not a very kind response, and it went on for quite a while. And I'm going to cover that in one that's coming up because I think it is vitally important. I won't be the first one to rant on that, but I can't resist putting in my 9 cents on that. But I'm not going to talk about that so much today as I am going to be talking about fathers, because that's important. And I'm not going to take too long because, as I said, I have beer to drink and Kelly has cheesecake to eat, and we have talking to do and relaxing to get started on. Fathers. You've seen this mess out there in the world today. All these idiots walking down the streets and chanting and breaking into windows and setting things on fire. And then other people following along behind them that think that's just great. And they're all concerned that there's no justice in the world. And they want to bring communism to our country and all this. I will tell you that I bring all that back to fathers. Right now, and I'm sure there's no social psychologist watching this program, but if there were, they're jumping up and down and talking about how ignorant I am because nothing's that simple. And I will turn back around to them and say, yes, it is. The only reason you don't think it's that simple is because you spent too many years in school and grad school and all that to make yourself think that these things are complicated, so that you have a job and can write a bunch of books on it that will confuse people as much as it will illuminate them. And it comes back to fathers, and fathers not doing what they're supposed to do. Now, I'm sure that everybody watching this is the right kind of father. None of us are perfect, We make mistakes all over the place, and those are the kinds of things that keep us awake at night, and we're sorry for it, and we try to fix it. But we try to keep our eye on our responsibilities and do the best we can and try to do better each day, and that's the way it goes. And as long as we do that, things aren't half bad. But what you see out there today is a lack of proper fathering. Also, I want to throw in here, too, I don't minimize the role of you mothers. We all know the importance of mothers. But if you go back and you see the commonality between our prison population and our out-of-wedlock birth percentages, which are astronomical, off the charts, and teen suicides and young adult suicides and alcoholism and self-harm. And if you look at all of these things and lump in all these idiots walking down the streets chanting and setting things on fire and breaking into windows and thinking that stealing a new pair of tennis shoes is their way to strike a blow for social justice, there is one thing that they have in common, and that is a lack of proper fathering. Most of them didn't have fathers there at all. Those who did had fathers that didn't step up and teach what they should have, and maybe they didn't have the proper fathering either, and didn't have the guts to stand up and teach manly behavior, which includes a lot of things. For first being responsibility. The four legs of the table of fatherhood are to provide, to protect, to love, and to lead. Those are the things that every father should keep their mind on. And I'm not telling most of you out there anything that you don't know. I think who I'm really speaking to now are the young men and maybe the guys who are a little bit confused about what they ought to be doing. And then I'm going to come back and say something to you guys who are doing it right. I say, I'm slouching in my chair. Well, I tend to do that when I drink beer, right? Kelly tends to do that when she eats cheesecake.
Slouching.
Slouching. No, she has perfect posture. People mention that all the time. It's one of the first things that I noticed about her. First, she was cute, and what great posture she had. Hi, kiddo. If you walk behind me, you're going to be on. There you go. You're on camera. There's a youngin'. She's going to be a year older in a couple of days. But anyway, where was I? I was saying something about, okay, most of you guys watching this, you're fine. I'm going to be talking to those who are a little bit confused or need a tune-up or maybe didn't have a father to concentrate on this stuff so much in the past. And then I'm going to come back and say a word to those of you guys who can help these youngins straighten out a little bit. Like I said, the four parts of fatherhood and the leader of a family. Because that's what you should be. It doesn't diminish the position of the mother a bit. But if you're not stepping up as a leader in your family, you're falling short. You are cheating your family from one of the most important things they can have, and that is a proper father. Provide. Number one. Provide. If you are not providing for your family, that doesn't mean giving a bunch of riches and giving them everything they need and everything you got to give them everything they need. But everything they think they need, everything they ask for, if you are not giving them those things that they need to live, you're a failure, okay? And you need to find a way to tighten that up, okay? They depend on you to provide for those needs. Now, if you have people just asking for, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that all the time, that's not proper, so you don't have to worry about that. But you provide. The second is to protect. They have a right to expect you to be the one who will protect them against the dangers of the world. If you don't know how to do that, or if you haven't been raised to know how to do that, you ought to figure it out. You ought to find out, get with somebody who can explain it to you and develop that ability. If you can't protect your family, and that means being willing to protect your family, being anxious to protect your family, you are a failure, okay? We were talking a lot about failures here, right? Because there are a lot of failure dads. Well, I don't even know how to call him a dad. There are a lot of failure sperm donors out there. Okay. The third is love. Okay. That love has to be deep and complete, and everything that you do needs to come from that deep well of love. Everything that you do for them. That doesn't mean that everything you're going to do is perfect. I love my kids and my wife to death. And sometimes I think I just come up short in my own mind. They don't usually tell me too much about it, but I know it myself, and you bring yourself up. But if you don't do everything you do for them out of a deep well of love, and a well of love based in for those of us of our belief system in God, then you are failing them. You're keeping one of the most important things in their life from them. And if you don't show them love, especially daughters, how are they going to know how to recognize a proper manly love? Okay, we have the effect that it has on young men who don't have a proper father, but the effect on girls when they do not have an active and proper father is devastating. Okay, it affects how they live their lives. It affects who they date. It affects who they marry. It affects their pregnancy rates, their drug use. It affects everything. Okay, and that comes back to you. And if you don't want that responsibility, then you better get a second job instead of out there chasing girls. Okay, you need to keep control of yourself, because the world does not need one more idiot bringing a child into the world that he won't take care of. Okay. Well, I'm starting on my rant. I'm trying to stay a little bit away from that on this. And the last is to lead. And that doesn't mean that you're a tyrant. Doesn't mean that you are just my way or the highway kind of thing. You should always want what's best for your family. Sometimes you're not going to always see it the same way that they do. And sometimes you're going to be right, and sometimes they're going to be right. And sometimes, if you're, I have a tendency to be a little hardcore. And sometimes I need to soften my vision a little bit. And I realize that it helps. Okay. And that goes back to the love part. So for you guys, for you younger guys, and you guys need a little tune-up, keep those things in mind. Okay. And it's 2 P's and 2 L's. And it's provide, protect, love, and lead. Now, and for you guys who just don't give a darn, for those of you guys who don't see your kids through I mean, if you're going through something, a legal situation, whatever, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you guys who have kids out there and you don't spend time with them, or you think that your life is more important than taking care of them, or if you're out trying to save the world, if you're working too much and you're not home with your kids, or you just are so stinking selfish that you, or so much of a big baby, that you don't take the time to be there all the time with your kids. I got nothing for you, because you can't be helped. You're a lost cause. If you happen to run across this, please don't watch any more of my videos. I don't want you watching my videos. For those older guys, or not necessarily older, there's plenty of younger guys doing it right. For you guys who are doing it right and you understand about fatherhood, why don't you start holding some of these other guys to account? Okay, you got friends. First off, set a good responsibility. A good example of responsibility. And then secondly, hold these other men to account. Okay, if you're doing it right and you got some bozo who you call a friend because you watch the same ball games or whatever, I almost said play the same video games, but the idea of grown men playing video games a lot is just beyond me. I can't even imagine that. Okay. Oh, I probably just lost some there. That's all right. I don't have that many to lose. Don't laugh and chuckle at the fact, or roll your eyes at the fact that they are not doing what they should be doing. They're not doing right by their family or their kids. Look them in the eye and say, buddy, you ought to step up. You ought to step up. You got one of the greatest blessings God can give you, and you're blowing it, and you are blowing their lives. I don't care if you blow your own, okay? You're probably not, well, I was almost unkind, but you're going to blow their lives. Okay. So I think that's about all I want to say on a Father's Day. Those of us who are fortunate to have our kids with us know the blessings that they are. This is the day that they call Father's Day. And it's the day that they, take us places and buy us presents, and we get together, and they say that they honor us. But instead, the other part of that should be us. We ought to do it every day, but especially on Father's Day. We ought to reflect on what our responsibilities are and check ourselves and see if we're doing it right. And if we're not, if we can tighten up on something, then we need to do it. And the world will be a better place. I tell you what, if every father out there did what they should be doing, we would have very few troubles in this world. And again, the social psychologists will jump up and down on that, but that is the truth. If these idiots out there in the streets had fathers involved in there, they wouldn't be burning stuff down. They wouldn't be throwing stuff through windows. They'd be out there working on a job. They'd be trying to make their dads proud of them. The prisons wouldn't be full. We wouldn't have a 33% out of wedlock birth rate. We wouldn't have people being raised by single moms. And I could go on, but I won't, because I have more time to spend. Kelly's ahead of me. She's beating me. She's getting farther down on her cheesecake than I'm getting down on my beer. Have I been that fascinating to listen to? She says she hasn't had a bite. Apparently I'm that fascinating. I don't know. But, oh, I guess she's over there texting. That's why she's busy talking to somebody. Oh, she's talking to my daughter on Father's Day. So I'm going to check out and enjoy the rest of my Father's Day. So you all have a good Father's Day. I'm going to now go over to my Lone Star, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.